back. Our guest today is Dr. S. Rand Werrin, an associate professor at Pitt and former advisor at Montefiore Hospital. Dr. Werrin has developed several inventions for the field of dentistry, inventions that make life easier for dentists and patients alike. First of all, thank you for joining us, Doc.
It's glad to be here.
A very informative show, as people can see from just looking at the desk here. First of all, what's the number one mistake people make when looking for a good dentist? And I put the term good in quotes.
Well, I guess the expression good pastry isn't cheap and cheap pastry isn't good. Sometimes they only look at price and they don't look at someone who's going to be a caring, concerned kind of dentist. I think that's the most important thing. Someone who really cares about them as a person and takes good care of them the rest of their life.
So are there places on the web just like, that you can look up a background of a dentist just like a doctor?
Yeah, sure. If you just type in Pittsburgh dentist, you'll get a lot of information, but that doesn't mean that that's the best dentist. Then you have to look at a number of different sites and try to figure out on your own who has a good site, and if they're innovative, creative, and entrepreneurial in the site, I think that usually indicates that they're going to be that way if you pick them as a dentist.
Well, it's a very noble profession for sure. I mean, I have a friend who works in the field, and he often jokes about the fact that, well, it's the last thing anybody would want to do in any practical amount of sense, because you're always talking about pain, you're looking at people's mouths.
No, that's not true. I'm always talking about smiles and beautiful appearance. I have a picture right here of,
yeah, I recognize her.
This is Miss Pennsylvania.
Yeah. You responsible for that smile?
I certainly am, and she's very grateful because she came in second or third or something in 1 year, and then she applied again to do it again, and she got her teeth whitened, and everything worked out for her. So, Jonas, the most important thing that a person has is their smile, just about. What could be more important than that? When you look at me, you're looking at my eyes, number one, but you're looking at my teeth, second. You can tell a lot about a person just from those two things.
And they say it all starts with the mouth. How much can you really tell by examining?
Well, a lot. If a physician, a lot of times, open your mouth and say, but they're looking at is there infection in their mouth? Do you have bad breath? Do you brush your teeth? Is your personal hygiene? That has a lot to do with living a long life. And that's our goal as dentists. You might think, well, we're only interested in teeth, but we're also interested in keeping you on this planet for as long as possible, and not only being alive, but alive and vital.
I often look at the PSA for dentistry, and it's showing a person with an apple. They put the apple in a food blender. They say this is what's in your mouth if you don't floss. Okay.
Well, if you think about most animals, if they lose their teeth, a horse, a pig, a cow, a dog, any of those animals, within a very short period of time, what happens to those animals? They die. Why is that? Well, if you can't chew food and eat the proper kind of food, it's going to impact how well you live your life. So it's very important that you're able to chew your food.
Now, the general public may not know this, but you've also invented something very special and useful called the sideless triple tray. What is that?
Yeah, well, actually, the sideless is one of 8 triple trays I invented, and I'm very proud. In my lifetime, I was able to have a big impact on the field of dentistry. When you take impressions in your mouth for various restorations that are made, dentists need something to hold the impression material. And in the old days, it was made out of metal. Well, metal can rust and corrode, and then you have to clean it. So I invented a disposable plastic type of tray, and dentists use these to take impressions of inlays, crowns, bridges. And the nice thing for me is that they're disposable. So every time you take an impression, you need another one the next time. And if you think about it, I've given lectures in Thailand and France and all over the world. They're used everywhere. Every dentist all over the world who takes impressions can use my tray. So we've sold millions of them.
What led to the creation of this? I mean, was it frustration or?
Well, it's what I do every day. I was taking impressions, and necessity, say. And I noticed that the tray that I was using was cutting my patient's mouth, and people were gagging, and I didn't like cleaning them up, and they were expensive. So I tried to figure out a better way, and God blessed me in allowing me to then come up with this design. And then God also blessed me with giving me the drive to push it, because anything new in this world everyone says, forget it. If it were so good, it'd be there already. But that's not true. And I had enough drive to push it with one company, and they said, forget it. But then I went to another company, and they gave me a chance. And then it started off small, and every year for the last 25 years or so, it's gotten bigger.
Yeah, did you have any idea, any inkling that it would be so well received?
No. Especially when I got my first royalty check, and the company president said, this will be your smallest check because we're just filling the pipeline. Of course, that was my smallest check. It always got bigger because it kept growing and growing.
What are some of the, let's talk a little bit about cosmetic dentistry now. What are some of the breakthroughs that are occurring? I mean, you mentioned whitening.
Yeah, well, we do a lot of whitening in our office. Today, it's really a shame when people walk around and smile at someone and they have a brown front tooth, or their teeth are coffee stained, or they just don't look good. They look dingy because it's very simple to use a peroxide type of material on most people's teeth and get them whiter. Matter of fact, in your profession, if you look at most of the people that are on air a lot, they all have such bright teeth, and most of them have done this whitening. Women, of course, care. I hate to be a sexist, but women care about this a little more than men generally, so we see a lot of women doing this. It's like not a necessity for a lot of men, but for a lot of women it really is a necessity of white teeth.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back we'll talk more about the pros and cons of whitening with Dr. Werrin. Stay with us. Welcome back to Impact. We're talking with the dentist today, Dr. Werrin, and we were talking about whitening. There's some pros and cons to that. I mean, obviously, if it's done through a dentist, you're pretty safe. But there are a lot of things on the market now that promise things that they don't necessarily deliver.
That's right. A lot of stuff that you hear about is marketing BS, and I would recommend that if anybody wants their teeth whiter, they should go to a dentist because we know what we're doing. A lot of things are sold for $29.95 and you buy it and it doesn't do anything, but what are you going to do about it? Nothing. At least with the dentist you have some recourse. If you don't think it's a good job, I guess you could always talk to the dentist, get your money back. But we know how to do it. That's all we do. That's all we do, day and night, as we work on teeth and we understand teeth. But anyway, it's a very safe thing to do because we use peroxide generally. We use trays, or we use a light that activates the peroxide. There's various types of peroxide that we use, but we understand how to do it. But another way to whiten teeth is not just with whitening with a gel of some sort, a whitening gel or toothpaste or whatever, but we use veneers. I'm doing a lot of this where people want really beautiful teeth, and we do what are called porcelain veneers. And this is like fake fingernails where we can put a white covering over the fronts of teeth, and it's very, what we call minimally invasive, where we may have to take a little bit of your tooth structure off, but very little, and sometimes not at all. And we can really make these teeth beautiful because a very good technician can craft these so they're just magnificent. And if you go to the movies, you'll see some of the movie stars, with such beautiful teeth. Most likely, that's the way they're done.
Well, sometimes it gets to be a little alarming when they smile and you go,
that's right. Well, that's not good. If it's too white, it's fake looking, and that's not a good job. Unfortunately, sometimes people think that they want piano key type teeth, but we as dentists know that that is not what we should deliver.
Well, what's the difference between the veneering and the capping? I mean, capping is very expensive, I understand.
Yeah, well, veneering is somewhat expensive too, but not quite as much. They're very similar, but capping or crowning a tooth requires that you remove a little bit of tooth structure around the entire tooth. I don't particularly like to do that. Sometimes I have to. I have no choice. But with a veneer, it's much more conservative because you're just doing the outer surface of the tooth, and most of the rest of the tooth is left intact. So that works out just fine for most people.
It can be a little misleading. Sometimes people go through that process and they look so great, but underneath it, they still don't take care of their teeth.
Absolutely. I think we ought to talk about something that's real important to me, and that's your heart, my heart. Your heart is connected to your blood supply. And, if you don't keep your mouth clean, the germs and the bacteria that are in your mouth get in your bloodstream and can affect your heart. It's been shown that people who have heart disease a lot of times have mouths that are not clean, or they have bacteria in them that get in through their mouth. It makes a lot of sense. I don't know why the medical field didn't figure this out sooner or make a bigger deal of it. Maybe because there's usually this separation between dentistry and medicine, but it's all the same body. So if there's bacteria in the mouth, and I, in my office, show patients under a microscope the bacteria that are around their teeth, it's connected to your heart. So, matter of fact, it's not just your heart, it's all the organs of your body are connected to the bloodstream. So if your mouth is not clean, you can affect your kidneys, your heart, your liver, anything.
You have an example there of what can happen if people don't necessarily...
Yeah. This is a model. People who don't get the tartar removed from their teeth, you can see how red the skin gets in this model, and the gums receded. This is called tartar right here, and that needs to be professionally removed by a dental hygienist, and it can be done in about 45 minutes in our office, and it's very easy to do. So you need to come in twice a year generally to have that done.
But I floss after every meal. That's not enough?
Well, it depends what you eat. If you eat a lot of refined sugar in your diet, you're going to build up a lot of bacteria in your mouth. If you eat the way people ate maybe a million years ago, you don't have to worry about that. But they didn't have they didn't have Twinkies then.
The shelf life of 15 years.
Yeah, right. So refined sugar makes germs grow explosively. And so if you're eating a diet that's very high in soda, which is something I don't like to see from my patients, or regular gum, which is full of sugar, or mints, I won't mention names of things, we all know what they are, but they make your bacteria in your mouth grow very quickly.
Well, I have a bone to pick with, not necessarily you, but the
Not me.
Not
we
you.
just met.
You suffer a chipped tooth, and I've had a couple of them.
Yeah.
You get a crown or whatever, and the insurance company says, that's cosmetic surgery, we're not covering that.
Well, what business is a lot of times the insurance company in? They're in the business to make money for the insurance company, It's sad. It's very sad. There's this fight all the time about what should be covered and what should not be covered. What can I tell you? Well, come to me and I'll put up a good fight for you. That's all I can tell you. Because a lot of times you're right. A tooth chips, I think it should be covered. Why shouldn't it be? What are you paying your insurance premium for?
How do you teach a dentist to have soft hands? I mean, we've all known some dentists, they're like sledgehammers when they open your mouth, and others can do all kinds of intricate procedures, and you don't feel a thing.
I don't know. I can only speak for myself. I was blessed. God, I can't spell, but, I have good hands. You do take a test when you go to dental school to see if you do have good hands. So hopefully, whoever you went to did well in that test. But I don't know how you can find someone who has good soft hands.
Speaking of dental school, what's your impression about, I don't know even if you're familiar with standardized patients or simulated patients being used by more and more dental schools to mimic interviewing sessions and whatnot with students?
I think it's a good idea because you just can't get the patients. I felt so bad one time when I was in dental school. The patient didn't show up for the board exam that the guy was supposed to utilize, and so what's he supposed to do? And the simulations I think are pretty good today. You can tell, you can generally tell, and even you have a whole year of dental school, so generally they're gonna eventually get some patients in there, but there a lot of times aren't enough patients. So what else can you do?
Well, we have some information if you'd like to get in touch with Dr. Werrin. He's on 5th Avenue in Pittsburgh. Phone number 412-621-0200. And I'm sure he'll be glad to hear from you. And I'm certainly glad you came on the show today.
Thank you, John.
It's a very enlightening segment.